Believe it or not, we are just weeks away from the 2025 free agency period getting started. Seems like yesterday the Super Bowl was happening. But yes, the second week in March, 2025 NFL free agency is gonna open up, and I think as Cowboys fans, it makes us all a little bit nervous, and rightly so. After last offseason, after the front office sat around and didn't do much of anything, we really gotta hope that they decide to sign someone, re-sign some of their own, go outside of the organization and pick up players. Actually try to make this team better instead of sitting on their hands and watching this thing crumble to the ground. So in today's video, we're going to look at some free agents that the Cowboys have based on PFF's projected contract numbers, what Dallas is likely going to have to sign them for. So let's not waste any time and get into the video. Let's start with the Cowboys' number one free agent. And on PFF's website, where they rank the top 100, top 150 free agents, coming in at number 30 is Osa Odighizuwa. And PFF's projected contract numbers for him are 4 years, $21.25 million per year, with $42.5 million guaranteed, $85 million in total for that contract, which when you say that, it sounds insane, but PFF does back it up. His overall advanced metrics, the progression that he's had throughout his career, he is an underrated, highly productive defensive tackle. And if you haven't heard anybody talk about Osa and the potential contract number, then $21.25 million seems like it would put him up there in the top 3 paid defensive tackles. But I didn't even realize that the numbers were this high. If you just take the top 3, Chris Jones, Christian Wilkins, and then Madubuike from the Baltimore Ravens, Chris Jones is sitting at $31.8 million per year. He signed a 5-year, $158 million deal, which is what quarterbacks were getting just a couple of years ago. And then at number 2, Christian Wilkins, $27.5 million per year. He signed with the Las Vegas Raiders. They gave him a 4-year, $110 million deal. And those two guys really reset the defensive tackle market. So when you go all the way down to the 11th highest paid defensive tackle in the league, you're getting around where Osa's gonna find himself, with Leonard Williams from the Seattle Seahawks making $21.5 million per year, 3 years, $64.5 million. So even with Osa getting that much money, he's still not in the top 10 paid defensive tackles. But with his production, how he's played, he's not Chris Jones, he's not Christian Wilkins, but it does make sense that he falls in that range of 10 to 15, being the 10 to 15th highest paid defensive tackle. And immediately, you're probably like me, you saw that projected number and said the Cowboys are not going to match that. I mean, do we see the Cowboys spending $21.5 million on a DT? We saw how long it took them to get Dak Prescott's deal done, CeeDee Lamb. We don't know how long Micah Parsons' contract is going to take. Do we really see the Dallas front office getting in there in free agency, potentially upping the bid, beating out this team? Osa's not taking a hometown discount. He's not going to take less money to stay in Dallas. This might be his only time to get paid. He was a third-round pick. He didn't have an insanely high payday for being a third-round pick. So this might be his only chance to get paid like this. And you can't really blame him. So I don't see him taking a hometown discount. I don't see the Cowboys getting that contract done in time, outbidding teams, giving him $21.5 million. But maybe it is a possibility. When and if he does end up signing elsewhere, Dallas is going to really have to figure out that defensive tackle group. We know how bad the defensive tackle room is now. So can you imagine it without Osa? You'd be losing a guy that was 15th in tackles, 12th in stops, 12th in sacks, 5th in hurries, 4th in hits, and 3rd in total quarterback pressures. So what happens when you lose a guy like that on the open market? You got to sign someone else, and we are going to talk about that in another video. Potential outside free agents that kind of give Dallas a chance to fill some gaps on their roster without just bargain bin shopping and being terrible in 2025. So Osa Odighizuwa, let me know down below in the comments, are you re-signing him for that number? 4 years, $21.5 million. Comment your thoughts, opinions down below, and we'll continue and talk about another defensive lineman where we get to Demarcus Lawrence. PFF has his projected contract at 2 years, $7 to $8 million per year. So likely you're looking at something like a 2-year, $16 million deal, with about half of that being fully guaranteed. So just a little bit under what Dallas has paid him over the last 2 years. And immediately I thought when seeing this, Dallas can do this. This is the ballpark that they're likely to play in, unless they're ready to just move on, which we know that the Cowboys will try to move on from a guy a year or two early rather than a year or two late. Lawrence isn't some kind of sack artist, but I think people forget how good he is at playing football. After missing all of 2024, you kind of forget what he meant to this defense. That defense was bad pretty much all year long. No one got in there and really matched the kind of run-stopping production that Lawrence had, and it showed. I think people were going to yell, let him walk, but I think there needs to be some serious consideration in bringing a guy like this back. I know he's getting a little bit older. I know $7 to $8 million isn't just a drop in the bucket, but even if he's just coming back as a starter early in the season and then maybe a rotational piece down the stretch, you'd be getting a really good run defender, not the sack machine. He's never been that kind of player, but still an overall average to slightly above average defensive end when you combine all of the things that he can do. And at this point, this team cannot really afford to get worse on the defensive line. I mean, imagine that you lose Osa, Lawrence, and then potentially lose the guy after him. Really quick, guys, before we continue, I have to tell you about today's sponsor, BetUS. I know that the NFL season is over, but that doesn't mean the action stops. Whether it's the NBA, college hoops, UFC, or even NFL futures for the 2025 season, BetUS has you covered. They have been America's favorite sportsbook for over 30 years, and right now they're giving you a massive bonus when you sign up. 150% deposit match on your first and 125% match on your next two. That will allow you to bet on playoff basketball, fight nights that are coming up, March Madness, or even early Super Bowl odds for next season. I mean, there's always something to cash in on. You think the Cowboys are going to win the NFC East next year, which is totally a possibility? You can lock that in now. So head over to BetUS, claim your 150% and your 125% deposit bonus, and get started today. I wanted to say thank you to BetUS for not only helping me, but allowing people to not just sit and wait for next season, but to stay in the game. BetUS, where the game begins. At number 65, PFF has Chauncey Golston as a top 100 NFL free agent. Their projected contract for him was 2 years, $6.25 million, $7.5 million guaranteed, a $12.5 million deal in total, which is around that range that Lawrence is at. Of course, Golston's a little bit younger. He got drafted in 2021 with Osa, and much like PFF says in their overview, Golston is going to be a rotational piece for a team, and maybe if Dallas does decide to move on from Demarcus Lawrence, maybe you slide the Golston contract in there for about the same range of money. I can definitely see a world where they take the younger prospect. I thought Golston played well in 2024. He had to play a lot more snaps than we thought he would. He's got flexibility. He can play 3-tech. He can play defensive end. Of course, he's not Micah Parsons, he's not Osa Odighizuwa, and the contract is going to reflect that. But that's kind of in the ballpark of what Dallas is going to be willing to pay in free agency. So I could see a world where they maybe move on from Lawrence because of the age, because of the injury history, keep a guy like Golston because he can be a rotational piece, he can raise your floor on the defensive line, and just give you an NFL body at the position. For our last player of the video, we have Eric Kendricks, who is the 98th ranked player on this list with a 1-year, $4 million deal, 2.5 guaranteed, and $4 million in total. If you remember, Kendricks signed a relatively similar deal last offseason, but that was because of Mike Zimmer. Those two had a connection from his time in Minnesota. Kendricks actually ended up flipping. He was going to sign with the 49ers, ended up going and playing in Dallas. But now that Zimmer is obviously gone, I wonder how much interest he does have in coming back. For the Cowboys, their linebacker room is extremely weak. I mean, you have Maris Leafau. That's kind of it in terms of NFL level players at the position. But for Eric Kendricks, assuming that he got to Dallas, he's comfortable, he likes it here, and the Cowboys are interested in bringing him back, I would definitely do it. You need NFL bodies right now. Kendricks is getting up there in age. He's slowing down a little bit. I think the main question would be, how much does he have left in the tank? But if he has anything, maybe he can give you some valuable snaps until you can bring some of your rookies along or other guys that you sign in free agency. I think Eric Kendricks would kind of plug a hole for a little bit that could get really leaky if you don't find somebody in the draft or end up signing another linebacker. Let me know what you guys think down below. Out of this list of players, who do you want back the most? Who do you want the Cowboys to bring back the least? In my next video, we're going to talk about a couple of free agents that Dallas needs to target this offseason from other teams. And honestly, that feels more important because for this front office, this free agency period has to go beyond re-signing some of their own guys. They have to go out and find guys from other teams. Simply re-signing your guys that you had last year and then assuming you'll get a better result is not going to happen. You bring back Eric Kendricks, Chauncey Golston, and Demarcus Lawrence. Nothing is going to change. We already saw that. We saw those guys give up 48 points to the Saints in week 2 last year. Sure, I would love to have those guys back, but there's got to be more. And that's what we're going to talk about in my next video. This team has to get better, and just simply bringing these guys back isn't enough. So thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I love you all, and I'll see you very soon.